The graduation hall shimmered with golden lights, the air thick with excitement and pride. Families clapped, students cheered, and the sound of cameras clicking filled every corner. Lena stood among the crowd, her heart beating with a mix of pride and nerves. This was supposed to be her big day, the day she and her twin sister Emma celebrated years of hard work together. For once, Lena hoped she would stand beside Emma as an equal. When the ceremony ended, their parents rushed forward with bright smiles and open arms. Their father carried 2 envelopes, one gold, one red. He handed the gold one to Emma first. "For you, sweetheart," he said warmly. Emma's face lit up. She tore it open, her eyes widening as she read the note inside. Oh my gosh. A trip to Europe? She screamed, jumping with joy. London, Paris, Rome. Their parents laughed proudly, hugging her tight as people nearby turned to watch. Their mother said, "You've earned it, honey. You've worked so hard." Lena stood there, smiling weakly, as everyone congratulated Emma. Then her father turned to her, handing her the red envelope. "And for you, Lena." His tone was kind but distracted, his eyes already back on Emma. Lena opened the envelope. Inside was a $10 coffee shop gift card. She stared at it, her fingers suddenly cold. $10. Not a trip. Not even a note. Just a simple card, the kind people give when they don't know what else to buy. She forced a smile. "Thanks," she whispered, but her voice cracked. Emma wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "Isn't this amazing, Lena? We'll both have something to remember this day by." Lena nodded, pretending to agree, though her stomach twisted. She wanted to be happy for her sister. She really did. But she couldn't ignore the sharp ache building in her chest. The unfairness of it all hit her hard. She had the same grades, the same diploma, the same sleepless nights studying. Yet somehow her worth felt measured in coffee money while Emma's was worth a European vacation. When they got home, the celebration continued. Their parents filled the living room with laughter and chatter. Friends dropped by to congratulate Emma. Balloons covered the ceiling, music played softly, and Emma sat in the center like a star. Lena watched from the corner of the room. She smiled when people looked her way, but inside, her thoughts burned. She tried to remember the last time her parents had looked at her the way they looked at Emma. It had always been like this. Small things that built up over time. Emma got the better dress at prom, the newer phone, the words "we're proud of you" more often. Lena got polite smiles and forgotten promises. Later that night, when the guests were gone and the house grew quiet, Lena went upstairs. The $10 gift card sat on her desk, still in its little red envelope. She picked it up, turning it over and over, as if staring at it long enough would make it mean more. Through the thin walls, she could hear her parents talking. "She really deserved that trip," her mother said proudly. "Emma's such a bright girl," her father agreed. "Always has been. She's just got that spark." Lena waited for them to mention her name, maybe to say they were proud of her too. But they didn't. They kept talking about Emma, about the trip, about how much she'd enjoy Europe. Something in Lena cracked. She walked to the mirror and stared at her reflection. Her face was Emma's face. Same eyes, same smile, same hair. Yet somehow she was always seen as less. She thought about every time Emma was chosen first, every time her own achievements were brushed aside. Maybe it wasn't about what she did. Maybe she just wasn't enough. The thought made her chest tighten. She sat on her bed, scrolling through her phone. Her feed was already filled with pictures of Emma holding the Europe envelope, their parents beaming beside her. Dozens of comments poured in. "She deserves it. So proud of you. You've always been amazing." Not one mention of Lena. Her hands trembled as she turned off her phone. The silence in her room felt heavy, pressing down like a weight she couldn't lift. She wanted to cry but stopped herself. She wouldn't give them that satisfaction. Instead, she took out her graduation cap and gown, still lying neatly on the chair. She remembered how excited she'd been that morning. The nerves, the hope, the belief that today would be different. That maybe, just maybe, she'd finally be seen. Now it all felt foolish. Downstairs, she heard laughter again. her parents talking with Emma about travel plans, flights, hotels, and the life-changing experience that awaited her. Lena clenched her fists. Each word was another reminder of how small she'd been made to feel. Hours passed before the house fell silent. Everyone went to sleep except Lena. She sat by the window, watching the night sky. The stars looked cold, distant, like they were shining for everyone but her. She whispered, "Why am I never enough?" The question lingered in the air with no answer. The next morning, Emma bounced into Lena's room, still glowing. "Can you believe it? Europe! I'm packing already," Lena forced a smile. "That's great," Emma laughed, flipping through travel guides. "You'll have to help me choose outfits. You've got better taste than me anyway." Lena nodded, her throat dry. She knew Emma wasn't trying to hurt her. That made it worse. Emma didn't even realize there was something to feel guilty about. She was just being Emma, cheerful, confident, effortlessly loved. As the days passed, Lena helped her sister pack. She listened to Emma's endless excitement and their parents' constant praise. Each word was another reminder of the gap between them, a gap no amount of effort could bridge. When the day of the trip finally arrived, their parents stood at the airport with tears of joy. "Take pictures, honey. Enjoy every second," their mother said. Emma hugged Lena. "Don't worry, I'll bring you something from Paris," she said with a grin. Lena smiled, hiding the sting. "I'll be here," she replied softly. Then Emma was gone, her laughter echoing through the terminal until it faded into the distance. On the way home, their parents talked about Emma the whole drive. "She's so independent," her father said. "Always going places." Lena stared out the window, the city lights blurring into streaks. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. They barely noticed her silence. When they got home, she went straight to her room. The $10 gift card was still there. She picked it up again and this time laughed, not out of humor but disbelief. The small, meaningless rectangle in her hand seemed to sum up her entire life. She thought about using it the next day, maybe buying a coffee and pretending everything was fine. But deep down, something had changed. A quiet storm had started to build, one made of hurt, anger, and exhaustion. She was done being invisible. As the night deepened, Lena sat by her window again, but this time her expression was different. Her sadness had hardened into something else, something colder. She didn't know what she would do yet, but she knew one thing for certain. She wouldn't let this feeling go. For the first time, Lena didn't want their approval. She wanted balance. She wanted justice. Outside, the world was calm, unaware of the shift happening inside her. The quiet, overlooked twin had begun to change, and in that moment, as the moonlight touched her face, Lena made a silent promise. This would be the last time they made her feel small. The weeks after Emma left for Europe felt quiet, but not peaceful. Lena moved through the days like a ghost, going to her summer job at a small diner near town. She spent long hours refilling coffee cups, wiping tables, and pretending everything was fine. Her coworkers talked about college plans, trips, and parties, while she saved every tip in a small jar under her bed. She didn't know what she was saving for. Maybe her own trip. Maybe just proof that she could build something without anyone's help. Every night, she came home to her parents sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through Emma's posts. "Look, she's in Paris now," her mother said one evening, showing a photo of Emma in front of the Eiffel Tower. "Doesn't she look beautiful?" Her father smiled. "She's making memories she'll never forget." Lena forced a nod, pretending to share their joy. She went upstairs quietly, sat on her bed, and opened her phone. Emma's social media was filled with bright pictures. Smiling faces, city lights, fancy meals. Each photo had hundreds of likes and comments. "You're living the dream." "So proud of you. You deserve it." Lena scrolled through them until the screen blurred. She wanted to stop looking, but couldn't. Every photo reminded her of what she didn't have. Not the trip, but the love behind it. Emma sent her messages every few days. "You wouldn't believe how amazing Rome is. The food here is unreal. I bought you something from Paris. Lena always replied politely, That's great. Can't wait to see it. But inside, she felt nothing but a growing bitterness that she tried hard to hide. Emma's happiness wasn't her fault, Lena told herself. Still, it felt unfair that one of them always got everything while the other was expected to be happy with scraps. One hot afternoon, while Lena was working a double shift, a familiar voice startled her. Lena? It was Mrs. Carter, a family friend. I heard Emma's in Europe. You must be so proud. Lena smiled tightly. Yeah, it's great. Mrs. Carter laughed. You two always were so close. I'm sure you'll get your turn soon. Her words stung more than she realized. Your turn. As if life was some kind of prize line, where Lena just hadn't reached the front yet. That night, when Lena got home, she found her parents laughing over a video call. Emma's face glowed on the screen. Guess what, Mom? I got invited to an art event in Florence. It's such an opportunity. That's incredible, her father said. We're so proud of you, honey. Lena stood in the doorway, invisible. No one noticed her. No one asked about her day. She went upstairs before the call ended, closing her door quietly. She sat on her bed, staring at the wall. The sound of her parents' laughter below made her jaw tighten. She had never hated anyone before, not truly. But now, she understood what it meant to feel something sharp and ugly inside. 2 days later, Emma messaged her again. Hey, I need help. Can you transfer some money from my account to my hotel? I can't access my bank app here. Lena froze, reading the message twice. She knew the family's shared banking details. She had helped their parents before. Emma trusted her completely. It should have been a simple favor, but a thought whispered in the back of her mind. A dangerous thought. What if just once things were reversed? What if Emma lost something and Lena gained control? Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She could easily log in, make the transfer, and tell no one. Her heart raced. She opened the banking app and stared at the numbers glowing on the screen. Emma had plenty. Money from their parents, graduation gifts, savings. Emma would barely notice if a little went missing, but Lena would. She would finally feel like she had a say, even if only for a moment. With shaking hands, she created a new savings account under her own name. Then, without thinking too much, she moved a few $1,000s. Not all of it, just enough to cause trouble. Enough to make Emma panic. When she hit confirm, her heart thudded so loud she could hear it echo in her ears. For a moment, guilt stabbed her. Then she remembered her parents' laughter, their praise, their glowing pride. The guilt faded. A few days later, Emma called her in tears. Lena, someone hacked my account. The hotel's asking for payment and I can't get in. Lena swallowed, keeping her tone calm. Oh no, that's terrible. Did you tell Mom and Dad? They're wiring money now, Emma said, her voice breaking. I feel so stupid. It's not your fault, Lena said gently, even as a dark satisfaction crept through her chest. That night, her parents were frantic. Poor Emma, her mother said, pacing. She must be so scared. She's too trusting, her father added. We'll cover her expenses for now. Lena sat silently, pretending to be worried. Inside, she felt a twisted calm, not happiness, but power. For once, she had turned the story around. She wasn't the forgotten twin anymore. But that feeling didn't last. Days passed, and Emma's messages changed. She didn't talk about fancy dinners or sightseeing anymore. She talked about how lonely she felt, how travel wasn't as magical as she'd expected. I miss home, Emma wrote one night. Everyone seems fake here. I just want a normal day again. Lena didn't know how to respond. The more she read, the heavier her chest became. She wanted to type the truth. I did it. I took your money. But her fingers froze. If she confessed, she'd lose everything. Her parents would never forgive her. And Emma's pity would be worse than her anger. So she stayed silent. One evening, while wiping tables at the diner, Lena overheard 2 customers talking. You ever notice how people pretend to be happy online? Like they post smiles, but you can tell something's wrong. Their words hit her harder than expected. That night, she rechecked Emma's photos. For the first time, she noticed it too. The smiles looked forced, the eyes tired. Emma wasn't living a dream. She was just performing one. The realization didn't bring peace. It made Lena feel smaller. She had built her revenge on a lie, believing Emma's life was perfect when it wasn't. A week later, Emma called again. "I'm coming home soon," she said quietly. "Europe's nice, but I'm ready to be back." Lena's stomach dropped. She hadn't thought that far ahead. Once Emma returned, she might notice the missing money, dig deeper, connect the dots. Panic settled in. She considered moving the funds again, hiding them somewhere else, but every idea felt wrong. The power that had once felt thrilling now felt heavy, suffocating. When Emma finally landed, the airport looked the same as before, the same excitement, the same hugs. But Emma was different. Her glow was dimmer. Her voice was softer. She hugged Lena tightly and whispered, "I missed you." Lena stood frozen. For a moment, the anger that had fueled her all summer vanished. It was replaced by guilt so sharp it almost hurt to breathe. At home, Emma unpacked her souvenirs. She handed Lena a small silver bracelet. "For you," she said with a smile. "I got it in Paris. I saw it and thought of you." Lena stared at it. The bracelet was simple but beautiful. Something chosen with care. "Thank you," she whispered, her throat tight. That night, Lena lay awake, staring at the bracelet on her wrist. Every beat of her heart seemed to whisper what she already knew. She had gone too far. She had taken revenge for years of being ignored, but it hadn't made her feel better. It had only replaced pain with shame. She opened her laptop, logged into her secret account, and transferred every cent back to Emma's balance. Her hands shook as she hit confirm. When it was done, she sat in the dark, feeling both empty and relieved. Outside her window, the night was quiet. Inside, Lena felt the storm within her finally begin to calm. She didn't know what would happen if anyone found out. But she knew one thing. She never wanted to feel that kind of darkness again. Her revenge hadn't fixed anything. It hadn't made her parents love her more, or made her sister suffer less. It had only shown her how easily pain could turn into something dangerous. As dawn crept through her window, Lena whispered to herself, "No more." And for the first time in months, she meant it. When Emma returned from Europe, everything in the house looked the same, but the air felt different. She wasn't glowing like before. Her tan had faded and her smile was smaller. The pictures online had stopped weeks ago, and the girl who once posed beside monuments and fountains now sat quietly at the breakfast table, stirring her coffee without saying much. Lena watched her sister carefully. For months, she had pictured this moment, imagined Emma walking through the door, finding out about the missing money, confronting her in front of their parents. But none of that happened. Emma never mentioned it. She just acted tired, distracted, and distant. Their parents, of course, noticed nothing. "You must be exhausted from all that traveling," their mother said one morning. "You look thinner, dear," Emma smiled faintly. "Just a bit tired, that's all." Lena wanted to speak up, to say something, but she didn't know where to start. Every time she looked at Emma, guilt twisted inside her. She couldn't stop thinking about the money she'd taken and returned in silence. No one would ever know, but she knew. And that was enough to keep her awake every night. A few days later, Emma found Lena sitting in the backyard, staring at the fading sunset. The air smelled like rain. Emma sat beside her quietly. For a while, neither said anything. Then softly, Emma said, "Europe wasn't what I expected." Lena turned to her, surprised. "What do you mean?" Emma sighed, picking at the grass. "It looked perfect online, but I felt alone most of the time. I thought traveling would make me feel special, maybe free. But everywhere I went, I kept thinking about home. About you." Lena's chest tightened. "About me?" Emma nodded. "I know it sounds silly, but when I was posting pictures, everyone kept saying how lucky I was. And I was, I guess. But I couldn't stop thinking how unfair things have been between us." She looked down, her voice trembling. "Mom and Dad treat us differently. I've always known it. I just never said anything because I didn't want to cause a fight. Lena stared at her sister, stunned. For years she'd believed Emma didn't notice, that she was too wrapped up in being perfect to care. But now, seeing her like this, vulnerable, regretful, Lena felt her anger begin to unravel. Emma continued, "I didn't ask for that trip, you know. Dad told me about it the night before graduation. I wanted to refuse, but I knew they'd just think I was being polite. I thought you'd get something too. I didn't realize how different it would be." Lena's throat went dry. "You didn't do anything wrong." Emma shook her head. "I did, though. I let it happen. I should have said something." The silence between them stretched. Crickets chirped softly in the distance, and the evening breeze brushed past their hair. Lena wanted to confess everything. To tell Emma about the stolen money, the fake concern, the satisfaction that turned into shame. But when she opened her mouth, no words came. Emma looked at her and smiled faintly. "You've always been the strong one, Lena. You keep everything together, even when no one sees it." The words hit Lena harder than she expected. Strong. She didn't feel strong. She felt guilty, small and broken. That night she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The bracelet Emma had bought her in Paris glimmered faintly in the moonlight. She touched it gently, remembering the way Emma had smiled when giving it to her. Despite everything Emma had thought of her, even while she was hurting. Lena sat up suddenly. She couldn't carry this secret anymore. The next morning, she found Emma in the kitchen making tea. Her hands shook slightly as she spoke. "Emma, there's something I need to tell you." Emma turned, curious. "What is it?" Lena hesitated. The words clawed at her throat. "When you were in Europe, when your account got messed up, it was me." The teacup froze in Emma's hand. "What do you mean, you?" "I took the money," Lena said quickly before she could lose courage. "You messaged me to help transfer it, and I moved it into another account. I wanted you to feel what I felt. I wanted you to lose something." The room went silent. Only the sound of the boiling kettle filled the air. Emma didn't speak. Her expression was unreadable, and for a moment, Lena wished she'd stayed silent. But then Emma placed the cup down carefully and said in a low voice, "Why?" Lena swallowed hard. "Because I was angry. Because I was tired of always being the second one, the one they forget about. When you got that trip and I got a $10 gift card, something in me broke. I didn't hate you, I wanted you to understand." Emma's eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. She took a deep breath, then nodded slowly. "I did understand, just not the way you wanted." Lena frowned, confused. "When the money disappeared," Emma said softly, "I thought it was my fault. I blame myself for being careless, but losing it made me realize how fragile everything is. The love, the attention, the pride our parents give us. It's all temporary. I started seeing how empty that kind of validation really was. I stopped caring about what they thought." She looked at Lena directly. "You wanted me to feel small, and I did. But instead of hating you, I started hating the way we were raised to compete. I was angry at them, not you." Tears welled in Lena's eyes. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." Emma smiled faintly. "Maybe not. But I forgive you anyway." The words broke something inside Lena. She started to cry, quietly, the way she had never allowed herself to before. Emma stepped forward and hugged her. For the first time in years, the two sisters held each other without comparison, without rivalry, just shared pain and unspoken love. When they pulled apart, Emma said, "Promise me something. Don't let what they did to us decide who you are. We can be better than that." Lena nodded, wiping her tears. "I promise." The next few weeks felt different. The tension in the house slowly faded. Their parents still talked about Emma's achievements, but Lena didn't flinch anymore. She had started focusing on herself, applying for scholarships, exploring new interests, and planning for college. One evening, she walked into Emma's room and found her sorting through old photos. Emma handed her one. It was from their 10th birthday. 2 identical girls smiling with matching cakes side by side, no jealousy in sight. "Remember this?" Emma said. Lena smiled faintly. "We used to be inseparable." "We still can be," Emma said, "if we let go of everything else." And they did. Slowly, quietly, they rebuilt what had been broken. The unspoken resentment faded, replaced by something real. But Lena never forgot the lesson she'd learned. She realized that revenge hadn't healed her. It had only exposed how deeply she was hurting. What brought peace wasn't payback. It was honesty, forgiveness, and the courage to face herself. Months later, when she left for college, her parents hugged her goodbye at the door. "We're proud of you," her mother said. This time Lena smiled and believed it, but not because she needed to hear it. She had learned that her worth didn't depend on their approval. It came from the choices she made, even the wrong ones, and the lessons that followed. Before getting into the car, she looked back at the house. Emma stood by the window, waving with a gentle smile. Lena waved back, a mix of sadness and hope in her heart. As the road stretched ahead, Lena thought about how close she had come to losing herself in anger. But now she felt lighter. The storm that had consumed her had passed, leaving behind a quiet clarity. Some wounds, she realized, didn't need revenge. They needed forgiveness. Not for the people who caused the pain, but for the person she became because of it. And as the city lights faded behind her, Lena whispered to herself, "I'm free." For the first time, the words felt true.